Welcome to our virtual field trip. Today we are going to investigate the indigenous people of America.
First, we'll be looking at the indigenous people of the Eastern Woodlands area.
The Eastern Woodlands people lived in the area from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mississippi River, and from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. It covers most of the eastern United States. First, we're going to look at a picture of the terrain of the Eastern Woodlands people. Notice that there are lots of trees. This is a very wooded area. So based on this view, why do you think the people were named the Eastern Woodlands people? This is because they got all of their food, shelter, and clothing from the forest they live in, and they live on the eastern coast of the United States. Also looking at this picture, what type of materials do you think the Eastern Woodlands people used to build their houses? Now we're going to look at a picture of a longhouse. This was one of the shelters that the Eastern Woodland people used. Longhouses were very large, and they could hold more than 20 people. Now we're going to look at a picture of a wigwam. A wigwam was more rounded and was smaller than a longhouse, but it was also shelter for people. Notice that both a longhouse and a wigwam were made out of trees and other materials found in the forest. Now we're going to look at a portion of a video of the Eastern Woodlands people to learn a little bit more about them.
In the northeastern area of Canada and the United States, people settled along the Atlantic coast and the Great Lakes region. That area was home to about 30 or so tribes known as the Eastern Woodland Indians. The area was rich in food and natural resources or natural materials. Oak, birch, pine, and maple trees provided wood for their tools and homes. Many tribes lived in long buildings made from wooden poles and elm tree bark. They were called longhouses. The houses were so big that more than 20 people could live in one longhouse. Some tribes lived in birch bark wigwams. Wigwams were made from bent birch saplings that were covered with bark. Some tribes built dome roof houses of grass and tree bark. Many tribes carved the tree wood into bowls, tools, and utensils. Some made bark or grass baskets for gathering and storage. And they made excellent quality birch wood canoes. They paddled through the waterways to fish, and they gathered nuts.
Now we are going to look at the indigenous people of the plains.
As you look at this view, take a look at the terrain. Notice that there are not very many trees, only a few in the distance, and no mountains to be seen anywhere. Based on the terrain, how could the plains people be different or similar to the Eastern Woodlands people? Let's watch a video about the plains people.
Covered the area between the Rocky Mountains on the west and the Mississippi River on the east. They were huge grasslands that stretched more than 2,000 miles across from the north to the south. The Native Americans who lived there were best known for their bison or buffalo hunting skills. Many animals lived there, but the most important animal to the natives was the buffalo. The Plains Indians traveled great distances while hunting buffalo. They were brilliant in their hunting techniques. To hunt the buffalo, they might chase the huge animals into a stampeding herd. The buffalo would be driven to a cliff where they would fall off and die. The buffalo meat was often cut to strips and smoked over a fire. Some meat was dry, mixed with crushed berries, and stored for use during the cold winter season. This was called pemmican. Besides using the buffalo as a source of food, they used it for its skin. The buffalo skin was watertight and made excellent boats, carry packs, and clothing. When women carried their babies with them, they used a cradle board, which was something like a backpack. Sometimes, women sewed beads or porcupine quills into the clothing. 12 or more of the tough buffalo skins were sewn together and placed over wooden poles. This made a temporary shelter called a teepee. The teepees had adjustable smoke flaps to help keep heat in or out. The teepees were easily rolled up and packed away when the group started to travel again. Not everyone lived in teepees, though. The Mandan and Pawnee tribes built dome-shaped earth lodges.
How did the Plains people use bison to support their lifestyle? What are some unique aspects about how the Plains people lived? Now we are going to look at the indigenous people of the Great Basin.
Look at the area of the Great Basin. It includes Nevada and parts of Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, California, and Oregon. Notice that where we live in Utah is included in the Great Basin region. In this area, there is little rain, and it affected the lifestyle of the people. Because of this, the area is referred to as the desert culture. Look at these pictures of how the region looks today. Notice how different they look from the plains and the woodlands. Since this region is desert, what resources do you think they used for food? The people of the Great Basin took advantage of the seasonal food. For example, they would live off fish and game during the winter and would gather roots, seeds, and fish during the summer. They got their food mostly from hunting and plants that grew wild in the area, since they could not farm in the desert regions. Based on the information just given, how did the seasons affect the food supply for the Great Basin people? How were the indigenous people of the Great Basin different from the Eastern Woodlands people and the Plains people?
Now we are going to look at the indigenous people of the Arctic.
Look at the temperature of the Arctic region. It is so cold. Think about how the temperature might affect the people that are living here. Let's look at some photos that help to show us this. This is a picture of Inuit people hunting a narwhal. What do you think they are going to do with the narwhal? What will they use it for? The Inuit people will most likely use the narwhal as a source of food. Let's take a look at some other sources of food the Inuit people might have. Here's a picture of a large ice fishing hole. The Inuit people often use the fish that they catch as food. In this picture, we see just one man using a smaller ice fishing hole. The last source of food is whale. Here are some whale carcasses that the Inuit people may have gathered meat from. This region, as we saw earlier, is very cold. How do you think the Inuit people keep warm? Let's look at some photos that show us. This is an igloo shelter that the Inuit people are building. How are the igloo shelters built by the Inuits similar to the shelters built by the Eastern Woodlands Native Americans? How do you think these shelters help to keep the Inuit people warm? Here's a picture of an Inuit family next to their igloo. Look at their clothing. Think about what it's made of and how that might help them to also stay warm. Now we are going to watch a video of a dog sled. While viewing this video, think about why the Inuit people would use dog sleds for transportation. Now we are going to learn about the Aztecs.
The purple on this map is where the Aztec civilization was. This is in what we know as Mexico. Next, we're going to enter a city within the Aztec civilization called Teotihuacan. Here we will find two large pyramids and the remains of a city that was built a long time ago. This city was discovered by the Aztecs, and it became very important to them. They named the two large pyramids they found there the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon. Here we are looking at the city center from the Pyramid of the Moon. In the distance you see the Pyramid of the Sun. This is another view of the city center. What is different about this civilization than the civilizations we have already seen? How do you think Aztec life differs from the life of the Eastern Woodland people, the Plains people, the Great Basin people, and the Arctic people? Which one do you think they're most similar to, and why? This is the Pyramid of the Sun. As I said earlier, the Aztecs didn't build this city, but they took the styles that were seen here and used them when building their own structures. We're going to watch a video about the Aztec people. As you're watching, I want you to watch for a few things. The video shows 8 things that the Aztecs had that the Spanish people had never seen, and I want you to list 5 of them. It also shows 6 things that the Spanish had brought that the Aztecs had never seen before. I also want you to list 5 of those. What do the resources of these...
When Spanish ships landed in Mexico in 15...
From the video we just watched, what do the resources that these two separate groups had tell us about them and the difference between the Aztecs and the Spanish? What did the Spanish rename the Aztec civilization after they conquered it? What percent of the population of Mexico is descended from the Aztec Empire?
That's the end of our field trip. I hope you enjoyed learning about the indigenous people of America.